right, good morning, everyone. Welcome back. Quick review from yesterday. ABUS, this is that. If you remember yesterday, I spent a lot of time kind of begging you, hey, midday, late day type idea. So ABUS. Now, I bring up ABS because ABUS is still in play today. But, this is what you look for, especially on those slower days. That big rip early, pulls back, consolidates, and then you look for that secondary move, that confirmation. You'll hear me say prove itself, So look for similar today. I mean, we got DWAC, interesting, by the way. Well done. A lot of you guys brought that up yesterday. I did bash it, but we had no way of the capital raise coming. But anyway, ABUS, that pattern yesterday. Please, midday, late day, high volume confirmation, sketchy biotech. That's what you want to look for. If you're determined to trade something. Again, I know I was very cautious yesterday. That being said, I do like the way this is basing at 5. Keep an alert eye on this over that 550 level. I think that could establish a day 2 move. So then, speaking of the main watches, ABUS kind of a back burner. So PHUN, if you remember this, ran with DWAC a couple months ago whenever DWAC did the SPAC. Big ripper, pinned the high of the day into the close last night. That was kind of interesting to see. If you were on last night's webinar, I was live at, from 7 to 8 p.m. And I'm like, man, this thing's going to pin the HOD. So that when I say pin the HOD, that's our level we're looking at. That 450, 460 area. Basically, and I know, you can, listen, I know it's the previous day's close. Obviously, I know it's 327, okay? But we're basically pattern-wise, we're trading a weak open ready green, but we're looking at that 8 p.m. close. Now, I normally don't do that, but this thing went wild in after hours. So textbook-wise, terminology-wise, jargon-wise, this isn't a weak open ready green. It's more that pattern. Imagine that, that 450 close was the 4 p.m. close. If you got the ebook, which if you don't have the ebook at this point, what are you doing with your life? But that's what we're looking at. And this would probably be obviously very early. This is my number one, PHUN. Now, DWAC, going back to yesterday, again, we didn't know the news was coming. If you knew the news was coming, I'm gonna call the SEC and I'm gonna report you for insider trading. Okay, nobody knew this was coming. Okay, now I stand by what I said because listen, and I'm sure there's plenty of you saying, "Oh, Tim, you blew it on DWAC yesterday." Listen, at 3:30 p.m., this was sitting on the low of the day. Okay, so I'm a big boy. I consume almost zero soy, okay? I'm not one of those memes with the soy boys with the mouth open. You can say mean things to me. I won't cry. I won't get upset. I stand by what I said. DWAC was on the low of the day at 3:30, and the only way you knew this information was coming was if you were insider trading. So enjoy your pending, discussions with the authority. Always tell the truth. That being said, we've talked about that 60 band forever on this. Okay, so if you were here months and months ago, we've talked about that 60 break forever. Basically all of November, this has just been consolidating, just under 60. So when we talk about technical analysis, support, resistance, etc., I think that 60 break is going to be significant. It's basically also a dip and rip. It's also that whole dollar, half dollar. It's also an area where a lot of the bag holders go green. So I still prefer PHUN. Now, why? Okay. Why PHUN over DWAC? It's just lower priced. Remember, one of the biggest, if maybe you've noticed this, maybe you haven't, okay? Remember, every time a stock Well, not every time, but the majority of times that a stock runs 200, 300, 400%, 99.9% of the time, it's a $1 stock, it's a $2 stock, etc. Okay, why is that? Everybody with small accounts can buy a boatload of shares. So degenerate day traders, FOMO bros, all the people that we like to profit from tend to pile in to the lower price stocks because they don't want to buy 10 shares of DWAC. They want to buy 1,000 shares of PHUN. So that's now they're basically the same setup. Okay. They ran together, social media, kind of a quiet day out there again. They're the same. At the end of the day, setup-wise, they're the same. I just would tend to lean towards PHUN simply because the bros love low-price stocks. That's why they move like they do. All right, so there's my three main. Is BFRI dead? Probably. I'm getting trolled. Come on. I mean, I commend you for the troll attempt. I mean, what signs of life are there? Okay, this thing it's filled the gap to the downside. The biotech bubble has burst. All week we've talked about that. Okay, all these offerings. I mean, understand, I sang The Wheel in the Sky Keeps on Turning the other day. Okay, the biotech bubble, they run them up and they do the offerings. And then a month later, 2 months later, they run them up, they do the offerings. And that cycle just repeats and it repeats. But understand when the cycle is over. I mean, look, the volume is imperceptible. Look at that. You can't. Well, of course, now my head's in the way. That's the only bad part about moving the webcam. Anyway, look at the volume candle for yesterday. It's practically zero. It's broke support. It's filling the gap to the downside. So maybe you're trying to troll me. I don't know. Thoughts on Peloton? Interesting. So I'm a big fan of the fitness technology type stuff. So it's actually kind of interesting you brought up Peloton because we're going into the holiday season. This is starting to base a little bit. And what I would look is, this is kind of a little bit more of a swing trade idea. And here's the thing. You may or may not agree, but I think we're headed towards lockdowns again. I mean, I want to rephrase. I hope I'm wrong. Okay, but it's like if you shake that magic, and I said this a week ago on my personal social media. Okay, I think if you shake that magic 8 ball, and you're like, magic 8 ball, are we going back into lockdown? The little thing that pops up that says all signs point to yes. Okay. Now, I hope I'm wrong, but it sure seems like all signs point to yes. So if you remember, Peloton was a huge runner during the last lockdown. I think if this can break 50, you risk the lows down here in the 40s. And I think that this could potentially look to kind of fill that gap to where they blew it on earnings, okay? So remember, this big gap down was an earnings miss. So if this can consolidate, break 50, you risk down in the 40, you risk that breakdown level. This isn't, I'm not saying it's going back to 80 next week, next month, but I think that if we go into lockdowns and the stay-at-home fitness comes back, I think next summer you could have a gap to fill. Now, I don't know if that fits your time frame. I mean, most of you are, day trader mentality, and you want 50% gains in a day or a couple days, not 6 months. But from a swing trade perspective, love that break on 50 on Peloton. So Peloton, from a technical gap fill perspective, like this over 50, risk on 40, LODs, especially if we get more lockdown restrictions, etc. And again, don't yell at me. Listen, hey, I'm a freedom guy. Okay, don't misconstrue that I think it's a good idea. It's just they did it to us once. I mean, understand, my friends. Those that fail to learn from history are doomed to repeat it. And we have seen this cycle repeat and repeat and repeat. When they, as in the government, does something, it's like raising your taxes, okay? 100 years ago, when they first raised people's taxes, there was rioting in the streets. Boston Tea Party, you know. All bad things happened when they raised taxes. Now, your taxes go up every year. Your property taxes, every year. Do you get more? No. Your income taxes, every year, they go up. Do you get more? No. Your automobile registration, every year it goes up. Gas taxes, every year they go up. My taxes always go up, but I get no new services, and the roads are still a shambles. So once they do it once, they will continue to do it until it doesn't work anymore. So there's your philosophy of the day. So a lot of you asking about OMER. Thank you, Alex. I will finish on OMER. I aim to please. So, all right, let's take a look. You guys don't want to hear the philosophy. OMER. Let's break her down. Big gap to fill from 10 to 14. A lot of bags in this from the gap down. Gap to fill back up to 14. Kind of low float, 60 million float. $3 million shares. Okay. Well, yeah, but it's 3 million shares and like 5 million. 3 million shares traded. Good volume. What is the PR? Oh, it's an asset sale. That's $1 billion though. Wow. So typically, I don't like asset sales because it's a one-time infusion of cash, but it's also $1 billion. Holy crap. 125 million up front. Okay, so typically I hate asset sales since they are a one-time infusion of cash, but 1B price tag with 125 million down. These guys got any sales, any cash, anything. So that basically doubles their revenue. They had 73 million in revenue. They lost 100 million last year. So this in theory, this infusion puts them black on the year. So 100 mil loser last year. In theory, this down payment puts them in the black. Executive's going to buy lots of cocaine. Congrats on the new Lambo with a glove box full of coke. This is a chat pump. I don't see a chat pump yet. Probably smells like a chat pump. So I'm going to say standard dip and rip approach. Let it set the HOD. Pre 945. Then 3-to-1 risk to reward off of pre-consolidation area for, midday, late day entries. For midday, late day entries, see a bus yesterday. So it's kind of nice to close as I began. So I began discussing a bus, and I will finish with relating OMER to a bus. So there you go. I like to think I cash. Listen, we've talked about this. All these biotechs just burn cash. They need money. They got money. They'll blow it. Okay. They'll blow it. But in the short term, you're going to get a lot of the baggies that got trapped in that gap down that are going to get excited about this. I can see this getting pumped by chat rooms because there's not much out there other than PHUN and DWAC. And then chart pattern wise, please refer to a bus yesterday. So there you go. Have a good day, everyone. We got a little more technical today. I always I like quote unquote slower days. Now listen, it only takes one. Okay? If PHUN goes, if DWAC goes, if A-Bus goes, you only need one. I kind of like these little bit slower days where I can get a little more into technicals, fundamentals, break down the cash position of some of these. So I typically don't have time for that. Now, check out the Steady Trade team. I got a 45-minute webinar coming up at 9. I spend the time in those webinars. So if you like this, hopefully you do. But if you're like, he always goes too fast, he talks too fast, he loses, squirrel. The nice thing about the Steady Trade team, click the link. I do, 2 webinars a day, 3 webinars a day, I do take the time to get into more nitty gritty. It's not just another webinar of squirrel. So, or bacon. Bacon sounds pretty good, actually. I'm going to have to go make some bacon. All right. Have a good day, everyone. See you next time. Whoops. I almost launched Spotify. Can't do that. YouTube will pull my video down. Got to play there. That was a close one.